I like to ask, what is a significant failure? It's as deep as you want to go, personal, professional, and really, we're going to focus on what you learned from it.
The sooner you can realize as an entrepreneur that there's no one's going to come and save you, faster you will be able to recover from your mistakes. You're going to make a ton of mistakes. I've made a ton of mistakes. What I have found over the years is I've spent too much time kind of looking around behind me, next to me, hoping and waiting that someone's going to come with the silver bullet and fix whatever mistake I made. And that's a waste of time.
Welcome to The Roll Call, the podcast where we dive into the roles that define us. I'm your host, John Glahn. On each episode, we explore the journeys of people discovering their true roles in life, business, and beyond. Get ready for inspiring conversations about finding purpose and authenticity. Let's roll the roll call.
Welcome to The Roll Call. I'm John Glahn. I have with me Matt Griffin. I think we're all here and accounted for. Let's start the roll call. So, Matt, I have Matt Griffin. I have on the call on the show today because of really the role he's played in my life, and I don't take that lightly. He is a founder of and I'll let him go into a little more of it, but Incite Analytics. So data analytics and software, things that make my eyes go cross-eyed. Been supremely successful at that. An amazing father, an amazing community leader, and just happy to have you here with me, man.
It's great to be here, John. Thank you. I am honored to be here as part of kind of the spin-up of the roll call and this new business venture that you're in, which I think is a perfect fit for you. And excited to get into it. So,
thanks, man.
Happy to be here.
Wow, what a nice plug. I don't normally I'm not supposed to get the plugs. You're supposed to get the plugs here. No, but, as we, as a little bit more lead into, we're personal friends, not lifelong friends, newer friends. And I think we really came together probably more so through not necessarily tragedy, but harder times. And you were gracious enough to listen to where I was in life, and at a moment where we just grabbed coffee. Mm-hmm. And that turned into just a wonderful budding of a relationship, because you were inquisitive and asking questions and really made me feel you had the role in that moment of a caring human wanting to know where I was and how I was. And, for me, kind of a gauge of where lives and where relationships are going is if there are tears. Mm-hmm. And they were there. And so that's why I'm ever grateful for you. And obviously we have a ton of fun together and
for sure.
Everything else in life. So
it's nice to reflect back on that. Actually, I remember those couple of conversations. We got kind of deep, and it'll kind of dovetail into what we do as a business, but asking questions and listening is the role of a consultant. And I try to be that. I am that in my professional life, but I also try to be that in my personal life and just give people a little space to talk about what's going on in their life and in their business and reflect back.
Yeah.
I find it supremely valuable for myself with the mentors and coaches that I've had in my life. And, it's good to be that for other people, whether they're up and coming or whether they're peers or not even peers, right? And just having that ability to listen and reflect back and get people to open up a bit. So I'm glad that you felt that way.
No, absolutely. And I know I'm not the only one. You tend to have that effect on people, and it's innate in you. So thank you for having that role in my life. Now take it to on the professional side. What's your story and how you got here professionally, what you do? So I'll let you plug on that.
Sure.
And how you got to the role that you are today.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of a longer story, but in a nutshell, what we do as a business is we try to help large, complicated, global organizations, generally Fortune 500 or larger, look in the mirror and be a little smarter and more efficient intelligent about what it is they're trying to do. We do that with consulting, like I just mentioned. Let them air out some laundry, listen to themselves a little bit about some of maybe the opportunities for improvement, and then we use a lot of ingenuity with data and technology to build solutions to modernize, to streamline, to bring them up into that next generation. So I've been doing it coming up on 15 years. The story, I guess, is it was a matter of time. It was really a matter of when, not if, that I was going to start a business, and that was primarily because my father was a business owner, an entrepreneur, for as long as I was really aware, right? He started a business when he was in his early 30s and had 4 kids and a big mortgage payment. And then it's kind of funny because that's how I started mine. I had 2 kids at the time, not 4, but what was really attractive to me, and this, again, dovetail into the conversation, what was really attractive to me was all of the upside.
It's all just fun. Every day is fun and joyous. Yeah.
Not knowing any of the downside.
Yeah.
Right? And so the upside for me as a kid watching my dad was he was at all the games. He was present in our lives. I've got 2 brothers and a sister. I'm the youngest of the 4. And he was always there. Between him and my mom, they found a way to get to all the games and the activities and provide for us all the things that we needed, of course, and a lot of the things that we wanted also. And it was a nice lifestyle that he was able to create, and we enjoyed that. And it was something that I aspired to. I have a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old right now, so we're having conversations about what do you want to do?
Yeah.
I was lucky, I think. I was fortunate because I've known really since I was probably late in high school and definitely in college that I wanted to be doing what I'm doing right now within, a reasonably sized box.
Yeah.
Did I know I was going to start an analytics company? No, but I knew I was going to be at that intersection of business and technology.
Yeah.
That's where we are. So yeah, to me, I'll pause there as far as how things got started and where I am right now.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of years in between there, and the tips and the curves and everything else of what kind of roles, how many hats you were wearing when you got started, maybe midpoint, and where you are now. Like, who do you show up as today? Who do you have to show up as today on the business side?
Yeah. Well, when you first get started, you got to show up as everything, and I was doing that. What we do as a business for our clients, I have done all of as an individual contributor leading up to the starting of the business as well as in the early days of the business. Now, thankfully, I found people who could kind of fill in some gaps and actually level up on my capabilities, and so that I could focus on selling and growing. But in the early days, the very first day, I was on an airplane. Day 1 of operations, I was on an airplane down to Texas to do a client engagement down there, and the rest, really, it's kind of history. And so you have to do everything. At the time, like I mentioned, I was a pretty young father, had 2 kids. Ages 3, 3.5, and about 2. A big new house with a big new mortgage payment. My wife, Molly, was out of school but working as a nurse, and so we had schedules that we were working to try to balance. A lot of family. Her family was up in Midland. My family was mostly around Metro Detroit. We both have big families, Irish Catholic families, and so there's a lot of activities. So the role of father was prominent. The role of son, obviously, my parents are local. Brother, my siblings are all local, so a lot of activities and things of that nature for just kind of keeping the family together and keeping it in the forefront, really.
Yeah.
over the years, I was able to start finding people who I felt fit what it is that we wanted to do as a business, but also fit in kind of the culture and this gap that, you know, we started this business to plug holes in a gap in the way that large organizations solve problems that involve technology. And without getting into a whole lot of detail, there's the supply side, and those are the people, right, who are innovating and creating, and there's the demand side, clients. I found a number of people throughout the country, and at that time, I was picking people based on talent and culture fit more than location. So we had kind of a distributed team, and so that was a hat, obviously, a role that I was playing to try to keep everybody together, connected, working together seamlessly. I love coaching, as you know. So I was coaching as my kids were getting older. I started coaching soccer. Spoke about soccer briefly. I never played soccer a day in my life, but you know, when your kids are 3, 4, 5 years old, you don't have to know that much. So that's a role that I've played both personally and professionally, and I still play coaching basketball with various ages. I love conversations that we had, right? Doing that, you know, I have people in my life who I can open up with and learn from, mentors, coaches. We have some in common, and I like being that for other people, and that's a role that I cherish, don't do enough as I would like to, and really love and respect what it is you're doing, right? You started a business that had nothing to do with what you're doing now. I think you were opportunistic about that business, and you seized on it, but then you also realized at some point that it wasn't kind of filling all your buckets, filling your heart. So congrats on that, and I think sky's the limit for what you're trying to do.
No, thank you for that. So there are a couple things I want to come back to. And one, just to state, you can't get to the point of impact with individuals. Like, we wouldn't have gotten to where we are. The other individuals that I know that, that you've had the similar impact with, and then with clients, you can't get there with them if I personally don't share the same vulnerability. All right? Most people aren't going to spill their guts to you unless there's that safety, and you've made them feel that safety. So I wanted to, not minimize that impact that you can have, again, by willing to share at times and things that are very personal.
Yeah.
And that's what really opens it up. And we'll come back to that, because I don't want to lose the sight of the kids and the role that you play there as coach, and you're not maybe going at full in, maybe minimizing it a little bit. You have 3 daughters, and every one of them has been very active in sports, and you've been actively coaching each and every one of them without fail.
Yeah.
And all the while, and we didn't even get to the fact that you're a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company that is very technical, highly skilled people. You're having very highly skilled technical conversations. You had business conversations, and many people would take that, and that's who they are, and that's what they do. And what I've seen of you is that's on the secondary side. At our gym, so letting a little in, our kids go to the same school, and that was the other, and church, and you've always been there, each and every aspect and time. And we see each other at church on Wednesdays for the kids' mass, and you were part of that inspiration for me to provide the same. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I'll say it for you too, that we also golf at the same golf course. So we do quite a few things together, I suppose. But you have blocked off, and I'll let you say it on your own words, but you use that as your time that is normally your working time, and when it's family time, you don't I have heard you say that's not an interference, meaning I'm not going to stay late tonight. That's family time. I'm not going to golf on the weekends. That's family time. I'll golf through the goalposts that are a work day.
Yeah. Yeah, I have said that, and I try to keep the golf to normal business hours for that reason, right? Generally, golf on the weekends is it's a time-consuming thing. And
Yeah.
Weekends are often reserved for family. You know, we make a choice to have children, and they're with us for, you know, plus or minus 18 years, and being influential in various ways throughout their lives with us is something that I take seriously. Generally, I'm more understated than overstated in how I kind of show up.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Preferring to more lead by example in with my actions, to be watched as opposed to my words being listened to. But I also try to pick and choose times and opportunities and topics with my girls at the right time, right place, walk around the block or driving back and forth to the cottage or whatever. They don't always think it's the right time or the most opportune, but you know, you gotta pick, choose. And so I do have the sometimes hard conversations, but more for it's just being present, right? And every day showing up, trying to be consistent, trying to be doing the right things without necessarily always talking about the right things and talking about doing the right things.
Where do you think because listen, that's not normal, right? And certainly here in America, right, that perspective is lost on many folks, right? Certainly when it comes to parenting and the impact we have, and most of us bring in whatever we came in with, meaning whatever we saw as a kid, that's how we're showing up, right, wrong, or indifferent with our children. So what do you think? How did you like a learned type of thing, or did you always show up as that way with dad, fatherhood?
Great question. I think I've always honestly erred toward the understated side of things. I'm not really thinking that I got that necessarily from my dad or from my mom. My parents were both in the home the entire time. They're still very happily married together and thriving. My dad was probably a little bit more, and maybe if anybody I got it from my dad, my mom is more prone to having a lot of conversation. My dad is more kind of do as I do and maybe as I say.
Right.
What I think I have learned a little bit is that if you are understated, you're leaving a lot more to interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned as a business leader that kind of, you know, it definitely transcends both professional and personal, is it's surprising to me that so much is misinterpreted if it's not articulated clearly and frequently. And, you know, if you read the business books, leadership is about more over communicating and stating the vision, the mission, you know, educating and re-educating on whatever it is the topic is. And that's an area where I need constant improvement. Is I'm not a like an dominant personality in any particular room or setting, as you I think know.
Mm-hmm.
I have my own kind of thinking on what I think needs to be done and what I am going to do and what I do. And I often forget that if I keep it in my head and I want other people to follow, I got to say it out loud. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's an area where I need to work for sure.
You know, it's so funny how I wouldn't have jumped to that conclusion because I'm the opposite, right? I'm the loud one that says everything. And yet I have the same frustrations. That no one knows what the direction is, probably because I'm saying everything that's on my mind, and so they don't know which one they're choosing.
Okay.
Versus I always perceive you as being articulate and you know what you want, and so it's like, well, yeah, you know, like it's anyone that has the opposite of you is generally like a superpower viewed as, and so I'm looking at you like, yeah, I mean, you say something, and everyone's like, he's thought through it, he knows it's the right idea, and they're going to follow. Versus me, they know he hasn't even thought about what he just said yet, you know. So I love that vulnerability that we all, you know, that certainly as leaders, especially not just a leader of a division or a department, but leading an entire organization, that is paramount. Yeah. Or having someone that can articulate it for us and lead that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a classic example of where your strengths can become your weaknesses and your weaknesses can become your strengths, right? If I feel like I am very articulate, and when I do speak, it's because I've thought through what I am about to say, and therefore I expect everyone to know what I mean.
Right.
But that's often not the case.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, that's life in a nutshell, right? Communication.
right.
With your permission, this can be edited out if you say no.
Sure.
I'd love to. Boy, that. I would like to talk about the challenges you've had and the roles and how that changes your perspective on life. And what I mean is, most of us get to just live life with a career, with family, with community, etc. And not all of us have real catastrophic or hard things to deal with in the whole grand scheme of things. Some of us have death. I have been blessed to not have a lot of death in my family, and I am knocking on wood. But also the sickness side of things. And if with your permission, I'd like to go there with you.
Sure.
Because you guys your family has dealt with that directly. I mean, you and Molly. And so, what does that do? What role do you play in those situations?
Yeah. Not fun for sure. Difficult in a lot of ways. Speaking about cancer and its kind of role in the family. So even before Molly had her situation, her mother had a pretty significant bout of cancer and surgeries, and really just kind of a substantial ripple effect of cancer and surgery and so forth. And that was around the time Emily, our third daughter, was born, which was 12 years ago. And they moved in with us for about 6 months. They were in middle part of Michigan, and they were being seen at U of M, and we were close, so they moved in with us. And so that's one role where you have your wife's parents moved in and kind of in and out logistically, emotionally, physically, with 3 children in the house. And so, every day you're showing up in a way that demonstrates the ability to deal with adversity in a variety of ways, and also care for everyone in the situation in a way that obviously kind of goes without saying, right? It's family. You just do what you got to do. And there was really no question. There wasn't a conversation between Molly and me saying, hey, what do you think? Should we let them move in? No, it was just like, the stuff out of the way. Here they come.
But we still have choices, right?
True.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
We do have choices.
Yeah.
It just so happens you chose,
Yeah.
and how you show up for your children, how you show up for your in-laws, your brothers and sisters-in-laws, for your wife and what they're going through, right? There's a lot wrapped in all that.
There is, yeah, and I probably haven't thought about it the way that you might be, and you're probably right. After that, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer and had, thankfully it was very early stage, so it could have been a whole lot worse, but she had a few pretty extensive surgical procedures and a lengthy recovery. That also led to some other kind of compensatory injuries isn't really the right word, but issues, back issues and knee issues and stuff like that. And then I really hadn't had a cancer track record in my family. So my immediate family or in my close extended family didn't really know much about cancer, much about the acute stages and treatment with chemo or radiation or surgery, and the rallying around of people in your community. That was new. Part of it's, I think, because my family is always very, very private, about their health situations, and so there isn't a big rally effect other than on the prayer side. That experience when Molly was going through that was new for me. OLB was a phenomenal community. People came out of the woodwork in so many different ways. My job was really kind of a little bit of air traffic control, with people bringing meals and other things, with people inquiring about what's going on, with 3 daughters that needed to have all of the things taken care of for them. Molly was a rock star, really just, getting through what needed to be gotten through. But the funny thing is that if you talk to the girls now, it was much less traumatic for them than you might expect. In fact, their memory of it, at least one of our girls, Lauren, will say, I don't think it was that bad. You got a bunch of great meals, friends over all the time.
Yeah.
Mom she seemed fine. Yeah, she slept a lot more. I think, in that regard, it was good. I think that we were able to shield them from a lot of the real trauma and not make it this hugely devastating thing when it was difficult, but it wasn't hugely devastating compared to what so many other people are going through. So, and then I had my, I had my diagnosis in early part of 22, completely unexpected. I'd had a couple procedures, biopsies, everything came back negative. And so when I went in for surgery, I was not expecting it to be the cancer diagnosis. Surgery was fine, no real issues. And then they said, hey, we actually found something after not finding anything twice. And went through chemo, which was, it's as bad as everybody says it is.
Right.
Mine was 4 months long, which is on the shorter end for sure. So thankful for that. Super chill, can't really do a whole lot. At least, I take that back. I was fortunate, I guess, now looking back in the sense that I have a fantastic team at Incite that allowed me to not do a whole lot.
Yeah.
For the period of time I was at treatment, I stepped away from the business for basically 9 months, right before surgery, and then through chemo and a little bit of recovery. The girls kind of laugh. Also, they're like, "That, really, Dad? Are you sick? Like, come on, you don't look that bad," and blah blah blah. But my role there was to be the patient, which is difficult, right? And Molly,
And not solve.
her credit, doesn't like being a patient either, right? She is always wanting to be the caregiver, and for both of us to have to play that role and be the patient and let people take care of you, and that's different. Another example, I think, of not letting cancer be anything more than it was from a victim standpoint or from a adversity standpoint. Yeah, it was very rough when we were going through it, but to let it bring you down and to then further identify, I really am not someone who wants to say I'm a cancer survivor. I don't think of myself as a cancer survivor, and that mentality can bring you down in other ways that they change. If you let it change your mindset, then it's going to change a lot about you going forward. And so if there's anything that we wanted for our children is to not see that re-identify us.
Right. No, that's great. Actually, we had another recent example of maybe a scare that could have been for health-wise. It was like, this could be, and it could be nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And right?
Yeah.
And nothing. So,
Yeah, sure.
and again, and for everyone else, right, that's really when Matt and I's relationship was really strengthening. And to see you didn't look sick. You didn't put on anything for anyone else. It was if someone asked you a question, like I would, like how you feel or whatever, then you get the real, like, yeah, by the way, I have stinging in my feet and my hands, and I got to go roll in the snow for crying out loud, naked. No, I think he wore some boxers or something. But
Yeah, so that's another.
sorry, we can cut to a video that I took of you doing that. I'm just kidding. No, it is, and I think that the power of your mind and spirit is something that you show, and I think, and obviously in your faith as well. I know this not to be discounted. I don't have any other evidence other than the results, which is healthy and living life.
Yeah.
So thank you for going through that. Because, again, the roles that we take, you had to be the strong one, the one that showed everyone, hey, we can do this. You had to be taking care of all the kids. You had to be taking care of all your kids plus your in-laws. You had to be, all of those things. And then when it was your time to be taken care of, that is a big thing, especially for us men, right? That we're the ones that provide for the family. Right. Not that you're that way, but just that's the stigma that we have as males, and to let that guard down and let people help you. And again, thank you for your vulnerability and letting me be a part of that journey as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd like to go to a little place that I call failure zone. Just kidding. I don't know. I just made that up. But I like to ask, what is a significant failure? It's as deep as you want to go, personal, professional. And really, we're going to focus on what you learned from it.
Yeah. We're going to have to spin up a whole nother hour. Lots and lots of mistakes. I think that's the downside that I was talking about with my dad that I didn't see as a kid, right? I am generally very optimistic, just as a kind of a broad stroke. My current business partner, Rita, COO at Incite, always kind of pokes at me in my rose-colored glasses because she sees things a lot more pragmatically. So when you start a business, you got this great idea. You're unbeatable, right?
Yeah.
Nobody can. I don't care about competition. I'm not worried about the competition. I know what we can do. I know that there's a need for it, and I know that I can go sell it. I can talk to people and have them believe and trust and ultimately purchase. So great at selling, but not necessarily so great at a lot of the other things that go into growing a business. And a lot of it is hiring, selecting people, like whether they're employees or partners or contractors, vendors, etc., or partners in the business. We've had a lot of different people in and out of the business. If I had to kind of hone in on biggest failures or mistakes, it's probably on that side. But I'm going to characterize it a little bit differently. As an entrepreneur, kind of in the vein of important lessons to learn as an entrepreneur, I think the sooner you can realize as an entrepreneur that there's no one's going to come and save you, the faster you will be able to recover from your mistakes. You're going to make a ton of mistakes. I've made a ton of mistakes. What I have found over the years is I've spent too much time kind of looking around behind me, next to me, hoping and waiting that someone's going to come with the silver bullet and fix whatever mistake I made. And that's a waste of time. There's going to be a lot of people who kind of come into the world of your business, this bubble that you've created after you reach a certain point or you hit a certain trajectory, and they're going to want to get a piece of it, right? And they're going to say lots of nice things. They're going to do lots of nice things. But when it hits the fan, it's really only you. You might have a couple people in your corner who are awesome and will do anything for you, but still,
they need some direction.
They need direction, and they're, as much as they would like to save you, probably can't.
Right.
Because they didn't start the business. They didn't have the whole, set of stuff that it requires to actually get it done. So I think, again, the sooner you're going to realize that no one's going to come save you, the sooner you'll be able to recover and just accept mistakes and move forward. There's a book that was given to me years ago by a serial entrepreneur who's a friend of mine, very successful guy. The book is called The Hard Thing About Hard Things. And that is a great book to read. And it says a lot of things about the underside of being an entrepreneur, right? And really just embracing the struggle realizing that there's no safety net, and realizing that you did this for a reason way back when, and you can't forget about that reason. You can't lose faith and lose belief in what it is that got you started. I've done that too many times. I've wasted too much time. I've wasted a lot of money.
Yeah.
And, thankfully we're still getting it done.
Rock and roll. No, that's great. And I'm sorry I chuckled. That was certainly not at you, but it was, boy, we talked probably 3 or 4 years ago, I wouldn't have worn the same. I had a wristband that Father Dennis gives for Lent, I think last year, the year before, and it said hope. And I wore it around because I thought, wow, because business was tough, post-COVID and things like that. And at one moment, I was with my team, and I looked down and I realized that, I believe in the team, believe in everyone. Shit was hitting the fan, cash flow terrible, line of credit's going up. And I realized I've been just hoping for things to get better and not stepping in and taking action.
Yeah.
So that one is a resonator, if there ever was one for me. Sure. So God love Father Dennis. God love hope, for sure. But it came off my wrist that day, and we started taking some action.
Yeah. It's a very common theme in the business world. And there's a place for hope, for sure. Mm-hmm. But, we've been on the brink as a business multiple times over almost 15 years. And I've had that feeling, that just persistent, sick feeling like, are we going to make it? Mm-hmm. But until you, like you said, until you actually step in and kind of cast that aside, by doing the things, it's important to do hard things, right? Mm-hmm. Cold plunging or the weightlifting or picking up new things that are challenges. All of those things add the stomach that you need to have to do the hard things at work. And whatever it takes to cast aside those things, if it's going for a run or hitting the weight room or going for a bike ride or whatever, I found over the years that it's really important to have those kinds of things as an outlet to think and fortify yourself for the things that you have to do at the office.
Awesome. I asked for one learning, and look at all that we just got. Thank you for that gift. Yeah. Matt, how do people find Incite Analytics and how you can help them?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Incite, INCITE Analytics is kind of a play on we help turn data into information and into insights, but we try to do it in a disruptive way. A lot of times organizations, particularly these large Fortune global organizations, get a little bit complacent, often dysfunctional, and they need some disruption. And so inciteanalytics.com is where you'll find out more about how we do that and who we've helped and what sort of use cases we focus on for our clients.
Absolutely. And you're obviously on LinkedIn and businesses and you personally.
LinkedIn as well. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Matt, thanks for such an awesome visit.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity. This is great for the podcast.
There you go. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks.
Yep.
That's a wrap.
Thanks for tuning in to The Roll Call with John Glahn. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe for more insightful conversations. Remember, discovering your true role in life is a journey worth exploring each and every day. Until next time, keep defining your path and living your authentic self. This is John Glahn signing off.